All right, everybody, good afternoon, and it's time for the second part of my deep dive into Devon Witherspoon. Like I said earlier, the morning video was about the numbers, the stats, the measurement, the testing. I think you guys get it. I think you guys understand that we're trying to find the union between the two sides. We want numbers, we want stats, we want facts, we want measurements, but we also want to go beyond that and understand, well, what is the player actually? Like, I can read all those numbers off, I can tell you all the grades, I can tell you what this guy said, I can look at, what he did in this game or that game, but it doesn't really tell you what the player really does. So this video is going to be for that. I decided to go ahead and split those two things into clear and separate parts. So with that being said, let's talk about Devon Witherspoon, the player. And we're going to start with the positives. We're going to go into some negatives, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the games that I watched him play. So the pros, they're pretty clear and obvious here. I think the thing that really stands out is how aggressive and physical he plays, both against the run and against the pass. Like, there is a swagger to him. There is a willingness to hit hard and be very physical. There's a willingness to get his hands dirty. There's a willingness to fight and scrap for the ball that you don't always see with these cornerbacks. And he's a smaller guy, but the way he plays is just the way he just commits to making a break on the ball, or the way he commits to go making a play on the running back really stands out. I think that he will offer that inside-outside flexibility. Like I said in the video this morning, he played almost 230 snaps as a slot cornerback at Illinois. You look at his size, you look at his weight, you look at his arm length. It makes sense that he'll be able to play inside. He might even be better inside than outside. That remains to be seen. But at the very least, I think he's going to offer you what I hope happens is that in base, he plays outside. But when you go to nickel, he slides inside. A lot of players do that. I think this guy can do it. The Illinois defense largely played man. They played a lot of man coverage. The games that I watched were mostly man coverage from him. And the way he quickly reacts to passes that are thrown his way, it's something that really stands out. He just has incredible ability to break on the ball as soon as it's in the air. He has the incredible ability to break before the ball's in the air. And because of that, he's able to make up distance quickly. He's able to play off the receiver, and I'll talk about that more later in this video, and still go make a play on the ball. And this is something that you really notice to an elite level when he's manned up. He's got great ball skills at the point of the catch to break up passes, really good at raking his hands across the receiver's hands when the ball gets there to make sure he secures the breakup. He also has the ball skills to actually go get interceptions. He's got 5 career interceptions at Illinois, had 3 last year in his best year by far, and he understands how to make a play at the point of catch to either take it away or at least prevent the receiver from getting it. He's got receiver-like ball skills. He can play in off coverage and react fast enough to make up for it. That's one thing that stands out to me. He did not play in press. He did not play tight at the line of scrimmage a lot. And there are cornerbacks out there that when they do that, they're basically giving up short stuff all day long. We've seen that before with guys like Trey Flowers. We saw it to a certain extent with Shaq Griffin. Those guys play off. They don't get beat deep, but they get beat short over and over and over again, and they can't do anything about it. This guy has so much confidence in his reading ability, so much confidence in his short area quickness, that he can just go break on the ball, go break on the play, and even though he's lined up 7-8 yards off the line of scrimmage, he feels like he can make up for it and go make a play on the ball regardless. And I don't mean make a play to tackle the receiver after he makes the catch. He's got great route recognition when he's in coverage. There are plays where it almost feels like he's running the route before the receiver is. There are plays where the way he just sticks to receivers really, really stands out to me. He's also been good in zone coverage. I do want to stress that. He's been pretty good in zone coverage. I don't want to act like he's bad in zone. He's really good at rallying to the ball, and he tackles effectively for the most part. He has missed some tackles in college, of course, but cornerbacks are going to miss tackles. Very few cornerbacks are just these perfect tacklers, especially, you have to remember, Witherspoon does have shorter arms. That is going to hurt him so much as a tackler, but Not only does he tackle well, not only is he a willing tackler, somebody who's absolutely willing to stick his nose in there, he's a hard hitter. There are several plays where the opposing offense would run a screen and he would just blow in there, read the play early, and go lay a big hit on the receiver, forcing a fumble, forcing an incompletion, forcing a short gain or no gain. He did all that kind of stuff. It was really impressive to watch. He's got great football instincts. He's very smart. He reads plays and then he acts on his reads correctly. And because of that, he's constantly where the ball is going. He's constantly got all his bases covered on these plays. He was also a good special teamer when he was at Illinois, if that ever ends up mattering. Hopefully it doesn't. He's got leadership skills, great mentality for playing football, and not that I think this matters that much here because we don't do this very much anymore. He did show that he could jam and press at the line of scrimmage in college. I don't know about in the NFL, though. So, on that note, let's talk a little bit about some of his issues as a player. While I do think he was pretty good in zone coverage, he sometimes gets fooled and gets overeager when he's in zone coverage. When you have him watching the quarterback, I think the quarterback can trick him sometimes. He's much better off watching the receiver. He's much better off looking at the guy he's guarding. When you have him facing the line of scrimmage and he's looking at the quarterback, looking in the backfield, I think he can he loses what's special about him. And I think he will get beat in zone coverage sometimes in a way that will be frustrating. And I'm not saying he's never going to get beaten man. He will get beaten man, but everybody gets beaten man. It's something that you learn to live with, and I think it's worth it, especially with these corners. I don't know how good he'll be at pressing in the NFL due to his short arms. I think his size will present an issue when he goes up against bigger receivers. There are going to be guys that he just can't handle. Now, that's okay on this team right now because we got Tariq Woolen, who's 6'4", but there may come a day when he's lined up against a Mike Williams type, and that's not going to go well for him. I don't know if he'll be able to play as physically as he's played in his college career, given how small he is. It worked in college fairly well, may not work in the NFL. He may end up at his best in the slot due to these limitations. That's possible, by the way. And if he ends up a slot cornerback, that's a problem because slot cornerbacks, while they are more valuable than they used to be, are nowhere near valuable enough to be worthy of a top 5 pick. He did accrue 6 penalties in 2022 total. He will have to learn how to be less handsy. Will have to learn how to not grab so much in the pros. They're going to punish him way more than they did even in college. He will occasionally get beat deep due to aggressiveness, and he doesn't have elite speed to make up for mistakes when he gets beat. He's got good speed, but he's not like Tariq Woolen. Tariq Woolen can make big mistakes and make up for it pretty much every time because he's so fast. But Witherspoon, if he makes a big mistake and gets beat deep, it's over. Now, I shouldn't say that. It's not like he's, Trey Flowers out there, but it's a problem. So when I was studying Witherspoon, there were 3 games that I watched. I watched every snap or almost every snap from 3 games that Illinois played last year. And I kind of threw together my thoughts on these 3 games in this list of notes. So we'll just go over it real quick. I know it's a little bit haphazard and chaotic, but I think you guys get it. You're just watching these games. You're trying to figure it out. First game was Wyoming. It was the first game they played last year and his best game according to PFF. There's very little to say here. He didn't allow any catches, 4 targets. He was playing in off coverage the whole game, and they still couldn't get anything on him. His interception came when he was playing from the slot, which was cool to see. And he had no tackles because it's Wyoming. This offense could not threaten him at all, really. They couldn't even get to him, really, because it's Wyoming and it's Illinois. So nothing really to say there, but I did want to take a look at his game against Indiana last year. This is the one game where he struggled. He got targeted 13 times in this game, allowed 6 catches for 103 yards. Now, watching every defensive snap that Illinois played in this game, one catch was like a 40-yarder. There was another catch that was like a 40-yarder. And there was one on the final drive of the game that was for like 9 or 10 yards. So that's like almost 90 yards between those 3 plays. So the other 3 catches he allowed were for a total of like 13 yards. So that's whatever. So we're really just talking about those 3 plays. And This is the game, by the way, where one of his big splash highlights comes from. If you go and look up Witherspoon highlights on YouTube, you will probably find the play where there's a screen pass to the running back, and Witherspoon reads it and basically blows past the receiver blockers as soon as the play starts and lands a monster hit on him as soon as the guy catches the ball, jars it loose. It's one of his best highlights, and it highlights how good he's going to be against screen passes and probably the run as well as a cornerback. Now, one of the big plays he gave up was a streak route down the field on 3rd and 16. He just kind of got beat to the inside, and he seemed a little maybe unprepared for the play. It seemed like he wasn't ready for the snap, and he just kind of got beat down the field. He was able to recover decently and make the tackle deep down the field, but it was a big play. He just kind of got beat. I don't think he did anything terribly wrong other than not be completely set and ready to go at the snap, but it was a big play in this game that ended up being a close loss for Illinois, by the way. There were some reps in this game where he actually played up at the line of scrimmage, so he did show the ability to play tight, but for the most part, he continues to play off, and he trusts his cover abilities to make up for it. The other big play, he just got beat inside downfield by Camper on a 39-yard catch and run. Just one of those things where I think he does show that he doesn't have super top-end speed, and maybe he was a little bit aggressive trying to jump something short on the play as well. It's a little indicative of his potential weaknesses as a player, I guess. But there was a really nice rep right before the end of half on 3rd and 4 in the red zone, getting a pass deflection, like around the 4 or 5 yard line, I think it was, where it looked like he was glued to the receiver the whole route, and he didn't even start in tight coverage. There was great coverage on a 3rd and 11 in the third, just pure blanket coverage. And he had a really nice break on the ball on a pass deflection he made with 1:30 left in the fourth on a slant. Now, the third big play he gave up in this game was a 9-yard curl in the red zone. It was just one of those plays he's playing off by, like, I'd say 7-8 yards, and he's protecting against the touchdown because the touchdown wins the game. It was, I think Illinois was up by 4 with a minute 10 left. He's protecting against the touchdown, and the receiver basically just runs 10 yards up the field, turns around, comes back, and catches a 9-yard curl. There isn't a heck of a lot that Witherspoon can do about it. And those are the 3 big plays he gave up. 40-yarder, 40-yarder, 9-yarder, approximate values, by the way. And that was the one time this year they kind of got him. But overall, he got targeted 13 times, and he gave as good as he got. It's very rare for him to got anything, but this was the one game last year where he kind of got something, I guess you could say. The third game I watched every snap that he played against the Golden Gophers. This was a game where he allowed 1 catch on 4 targets. The 1 catch was for 6 yards, and it was with like a minute left in garbage time. It was just soft coverage, dump off to the tight end in the flats, and he was the closest defender. It didn't mean anything. So basically, he didn't allow anything in this game. He had a big hit and a textbook tackle and a screenplay to limit it to 3 yards. I think it was a 3rd and 6. And it was a bubble screen, basically. And he just blows past the blockers and makes a big hit to limit it to 3 yards. Great play by him. Again, over and over, he plays off 7-8 yards, and he makes up for it. They still can't get any completions on him, even though, in theory, he's giving them easy completions all game. Occasionally, yes, he plays close to the line of scrimmage, of course, but for the most part, he is playing off and trusting himself to be able to make up the distance. Now, the couple of reps he had in this game that were bad, he took a really bad angle on a long run by Mohamed Ibrahim. Doesn't even touch the running back. He's coming up in run support, and he's not even close. He takes a bad angle and misses him by 3 yards. He doesn't even really try to tackle him because he's so far off. And there was also another play where he tries to blitz off the edge, and it was a running play, and he just kind of blows right past the play again. Nothing terrible. It wasn't like a big play, I don't think, or anything. But he did end up kind of looking a little silly, just screeching right past the play. But didn't really allow anything in coverage. And when they did target him, he's just glued to the receiver. And that's kind of the recurring theme with him. So that's what I picked up from watching these 3 games that he played last year. So that's really all I can say about Devon Witherspoon, the player. Awesome player. Has some flaws. But if we embrace man coverage in 2023, I think we're going to get great stuff out of him. All right, tomorrow, JSN is the guy.